This time on the LED wheel we're going to put together a 12-volt voltage regulator for your RC cars that are running 4 to 6 cell LiPos. This is your voltage regulator. Minimum input voltage is 14.5 volts. So a 4 cell is perfect. So input, contact number 1, contact number 2 is your ground, contact number 3 is your output. You're going to need some capacitors, electrolytic capacitors. What's important is your input voltage. Your capacitor voltage always has to surpass your utility voltage. In other words, if you're running a 6-cell LiPo, which is rated at 22.2 volts, charged is a good amount more than that, you're going to need, let's say, a 35-40 volt capacitor. On your output, again, capacitance isn't that important, but 16-25 volts is plenty. I have a 25 volt for my output. It's stuff that I already had in my electronics bin, and my input one is 50 volts, so that's good. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug two 2-cell packs in series with a connector that I made previously in another one of my videos. So this is going to give us a 4-cell voltage. So I'm going to connect these together and show you what the voltage is. Multimeter. Okay, so here we have 16.6 volts. Now once we've got the regulator set up, you're going to see it sticks real close to the 12 volt mark. And keep the package really small. Oh yeah, you're going to need some heat shrink as well. I'll show you what size is after. Okay, so how we're going to do this, your capacitors, the negative part of your capacitors have to go to ground. Now on most capacitors you'll see there's an indication as to where your ground is. Sometimes it's the positive that's indicated, sometimes it's negative. Most of the time it's a negative. Here's one example. Here's another example. You get an arrow pointing towards a negative with a negative sign. So what we're going to do to put this together is the capacitors are going to go this way, side by side, each on their respective contacts. They're going to get soldered on here. Wires are going to come in this way. Each contacts individually is going to get heat shrinked, and the whole package as a whole is also going to get heat shrinked. Alright? With the negative facing to your left, you can take the contacts flat, push them straight down like so. Alright. Take the regulator, see how high we have to adjust it at. It's a bit tricky sometimes. Okay. Take your pliers, adjust them like this, pull it out, and then bend them back this way. And then you just have to straighten them out a little bit. Okay, like so. Now you're obviously going to have to cut some of that off. Let's do a test fit here. So there we go. That's pretty good. Now once all that's soldered into place, nothing's going to move. If you really want to, or what we should do, is put some little covers over these. You could put heat shrink. I have these little braided pieces that I'm going to put because I already had them. Shorten it a little bit more. Alright, so we got one of them on. Get the other one on here. Like I said, you can use heat shrink for this. I just suggest you put those little tiny bits of heat shrink on before you do anything else, because it'll be really hard to get them across the bend. Okay, so that's there. We need to... Okay, so that's like that. We need to trim these. Okay, here's where our helping hands are going to come in again. Alright, so we got one. Careful, because it gets hot. Again, you don't want to overheat the chip, so quick solders is the trick, again, as usual. Alright. So we have that side on. Now this one we're going to cut these things ahead of time. Slide these on. Okay, this one, on the input, the negative is going to be on the right side. So once that's on, bend that down like that. So hold it like that. And we have to put the grounds together like so. Okay, this one's a bit tricky. You might have to hold it in your hands. You might have other ideas on how to do this. Set that on quick, just to make it hold temporarily till we get the other one on. Don't forget, we still have to get the wires on here. Okay, put that in here. Okay, that one's in. Alright. Okay, now that's done. Now we need to make the connector for it. There's a couple of ways you can do that. I'm just going to use two Dean's connectors to put between the batteries and your ESC. Okay, so we need to put two Dean's connectors like this. Okay, once you've pre-tinned your contacts, just warm them up a bit until you can melt some solder into the centers of it. There we go, that should do it for that. Now let's put that aside. While that's cooling off a bit, let's prepare our wires. Now we need two sets of wires. We need wires that are going from the plug to the voltage regulator, and some wires going from the regulator to whatever contacts that you need for your lights or whatever it is that you want to power. So I'm going to put approximately we only need black and red, so let's say about, how much wire do I have here? I have 8 inches, so I'm going to put 4 inches on one side and 4 inches on the other. Okay, so cut 4 inches, strip the ends off. You want to maybe strip off a little bit more than that. I think I really need to get myself some decent wire strippers. Alright, so a bit of tin on that. Okay, now on your connector you need to add some wires to it. What we'll do is maybe I put too much wire. Turn that up. Stick it in here. Don't forget to make sure you're on your positive contact. Make sure that's nice and solid. Same thing for the negative. Alright. Now all this has to be solidified. Mainly because you want your wires not to be stripped out. So I pass the wires through here. Making sure they don't short out on each other. Alright. So we're going to tape this up, epoxy it, so that the wires are nice and solid inside. Tape it up, pour some epoxy inside, and make sure it's solid before you do that, because that would be a waste of time to have to start that all over again. Okay, so we get some tape. You don't need a lot. Okay, so you want to tape that up this way. So tape it so that you can pour some epoxy in. Pull it tight, but try not to push inside the contact area, because you don't want to close off the area. You want to keep space for the epoxy to go in. Okay, cut off the excess tape. There we go. Okay, so you can see the spacing on both sides. So your wires are going to be stuck in the epoxy as well. So let's go ahead and mix some epoxy. Don't really need a lot for this particular one. Always make a little bit more. Use an old screwdriver to mix it up. Okay, so we'll set that aside for now. So while we're waiting for the epoxy to set, we'll trim the excess off of here. So we know we're going to have to cover this whole wire here, so we're going to cut it a little bit longer. So I need one ground, or that is one black, and two reds, one for the input and one for the output. Alright, so that's good. Now, previously I said we are going to use some wires, some 4-inch wires for the output, but I realized that the Hobby Parts lights come with a connector that we can use very easily. So there's nothing extra to wire up. Just set these wires on and that'll be it. So we can start by soldering the output, because I don't need anything else to do that. Okay, you want to put the grounds together. Can solder it on. And then the input voltage over here. this shorter again. Have good connections all around. Now it's time to cover it all up. Alright. Now you could get fancy and add a switch between your connector and your regulator. Okay, now we can test it and see what we get. Let's see what our output is at. Oh, 11.9. That's exactly what we were looking for. Basically 12 volts. Let's connect some lights to it. And there you go. Okay, so now it's time to shrink it all together. I'm going to pass my wires this way. The input on one side, ground's in the middle, output on the other side. All nice and neat, tucked away. If we wanted to, we could actually split these up and get the wires to go inside. There we go. There, that'd be nice. Okay, put a shrink over all of this here. Okay, so I'm going to use a heat gun now because this gets pretty hot. Okay, that's good for that. And there you have it. This is a completed voltage regulator. Nice neat little package. Got a nice flat surface to tape it onto something. Obviously the connector, well, you use a connector of your choice. I use these because all my stuff is running Deans. Connect it up again, make sure it still works. Don't see why it wouldn't. Yeah, ça marche. It works perfectly. So there you go, nice neat little package. So this will work anywhere from 4S to 6S. An added note to these types of regulators, you can get them in various voltages. This one is a 7812. What you want, let's say you want a 5-volt regulator, well it's a 7805. 6 is 7806, you got 7808, 09, 10, 12, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure up to what range they go to, but there is a variety of voltages available. For instance, if you wanted to power your receiver and servos on 6 volts, you can do it with a 7806. 1 amp. Well, I don't know if 1 amp is enough. I'm sure it would be. Although what you could do, if you have The beauty of these connectors, these regulators, I got some 2 older ones here. See, this is a 7809. It's a 7805. If you wanted to do 2 amps, let's say, you could set them up like this, one in back of the other, and simply solder them together, putting the legs together, kind of like that, and then doing your wiring around that. You could put them on a board, one of these boards, just pass them through. This one's used, this is a solder on it, but technically you can put it like that through the board, so you have your contacts inside like this, and you can put another one farther down. There's different configurations of these boards as well that you can use. Some of them have strips that go all the way through, and you can distribute. Depends what you want to do. If you want to distribute to many items at once, this would be the way to go. If you have more than one light to connect, you can add more connectors to this. Or again, you can go with a circuit board assembly